and welcome to SharePoint 101. The outcomes for this session are to describe the benefits of using SharePoint to facilitate program tracking and to identify the programming steps for which SharePoint is used. And there's a third unofficial outcome, which is to become familiar with the new ways of using SharePoint and the new expectations for using SharePoint. Now we're going to focus mostly on the second and third outcome there. I think you read a little bit of a summary of what the benefits of using SharePoint are. So in SharePoint is where we keep track of all of our programming proposals, evaluations. We've got a feature called programming tracking, and it's also where we're going to keep track of all of the expenses. So to add a new program proposal, you're going to click on this button here. And you're going to fill out all the information that is required in all of these fields. Now you're going to have another session when you actually come here in August that'll go through a bit more in depth of how to fill out a programming proposal. So I'll just sort of overview it here. One change is that we're going to ask you to identify your programming type. Is it an academic, athletic, educational, social program? You're going to identify the scope of your program. Is it inter-res, complex, floor, section, or LLC? Keywords were there before. I'm just going to pick the first one I find. Okay. I'm working from the front desk on this one. You're going to check off whether or not you actually booked the room, because that's something some people sometimes forget to do if that's necessary. Your risk assessment waiver. If you need one, then you can check this box, and if you've actually already written it up, then you can click right here to attach your waiver, and that way it's real simple for your CA to look it over and give you the approval that you need. We have a new position this year, Academic Dons, and they will be working from a set of global learning outcomes when they're programming. You'll learn more about that later on, but this is a spot where you're going to identify which global learning outcome you are working on in this session. Moving along. What are you hoping to accomplish and why have you chosen to create this program? It's a bit more specific than I think it used to be description or purpose of your program here. We should have some goals in mind when we're programming. So as I stated before, the outcome of this is for the RLT to identify programming steps for which SharePoint is used. The resources required. I need a computer. That's about it. The budget required for this one is $0. The next section looks a bit different than it used to be. The contributors used to be sort of a text box like this one that you would enter multiple people's names into. Now what we want you to do is sort of enter one person at a time. What this does is it makes it easier for us to do a search and see how many programs certain individuals are contributing on rather than just taking the lead on, because I know a lot of work goes into being a contributor and you don't always get all the credit based on just looking at the spreadsheet that we get at the end of the year from this SharePoint data. So on this one I'm contributing with Carly, so I'll put her name here. And now this is actually reference to a database of people's names that are already entered. If ever you type a name in here and it doesn't come up, it could be because you spelled it wrong or because they have they use a different first name than their official first name. What you can do is you can look them up in the directory here. It's just a little search field. If there's anybody you can't find in the directory, or for whatever reason the field's not working for you, you can enter them into this additional contributors box. And after that, you're done your proposal. Your proposal is complete. And I can hit save. And then I wait, because my CA is going to go in and edit the item. And select yes for approval by CA or RLS. Or get back to you if it's not approved. And they can write notes. Hopefully a bit more descriptive than just great. And moving along, let's say my SharePoint 101 program has completed. Now I need to do my evaluation, so I just go right back into the very same proposal that I wrote up, and I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom, and I'm going to say I'm ready to begin my evaluation. my actual number of attendees. I don't know, what are there, 23 of you out there? Results of the initiative. Great. Please be more descriptive than me when you're filling this out. Yes, the computer was useful. What was the actual total cost of the program? Just as I expected, $0. Did this program achieve its set learning goals based on the academic Dawn programming model? So this question refers back to that set of check boxes for the academic Dawns. If you're not an academic Dawn, don't worry too much about that one. And suggestions, improvements, recommendations, where you can learn from your experience. When you're done doing your evaluation, check that off, save it, and again, your CA will go back in, look over your evaluation, and give the stamp of approval. Now for the next part, first I'm just going to copy this shortcut because I'll need it for the next step, which is adding tracking a program. So the other thing we use SharePoint for is programming tracking. You go in here and you'll see that all of your names are in this panel on the side. I even threw my name in for the sake of demonstration. I'm going to add a new item. So this is the programming tracking for my SharePoint 101. The link to the proposal is right here. The evaluation, we don't do those anymore. I should take that field out of there. The time frame, you can just select whatever is necessary to track your program here. You get a bit more detail on this in your Programming 2.0 session that you'll have when you get here later in August. When you're done filling all that out, you can save it. Your CA will go in and give it the approval, give you some comments, and so on. The third thing that we use SharePoint for is tracking your expenses. Now this is new this year. Normally you would fill out a form and keep all your receipts and hand them all in at the end of the year. This year we're hoping that you can keep track of it as you go. You're still going to hang on to those receipts though, please. So you go to submit an expense. And so for each receipt that you get, for each purchase you make, you're going to enter the information from one receipt onto each expense submission. So I'm from Governor's House. In here you're going to tell us the program that you made the purchase for. In this case I bought myself a coffee. I'm not actually going to expense my coffee, but this is an example. The vendor was Tim Hortons and it cost $1.60. The date on the receipt was today. If you purchase gift cards, you have to provide us with the names of who won the gift cards. If you don't know at the time that you bought them, you can always go back into this entry and edit it to throw the names in there. We're really only going to submit your receipts at the end of the semester anyways, so you don't have to worry about having that information right away. Any comments you want to make to your CA, and then you're done. You can hit save. And your CA will go in and keep track of your expenses this way. So under Governor's House, you can see that $19.10 was spent, all by the same person. And the particular purchase we're talking about today is this one. And the CA can go in and approve it this way. So when you hand your receipts to your CA, that will look it over and make sure that you wrote the right total down and everything. Sometimes those things get overlooked. So we'll just make sure that the information submitted is accurate, and then you're on your way. So that's a basic overview of what you'll be using SharePoint for in the upcoming academic year. You will have a chance to play around in here and learn a bit more of the details of the steps when you return to us in August. So I hope that I met my outcomes. I hope that you can identify some programming steps for which SharePoint is used, and I hope that you've become familiar with the new ways of using SharePoint and the new expectations for using SharePoint. Thanks, and I'll see you in a couple weeks.